Hi everyone, my name is Trang Nguyen. My pronouns are they, them, and I want to welcome you all to my workshop on conflict resolution and de-escalation in helping professions. I want to send gratitude to you all for being here and taking time out of your busy schedule to learn more about this topic. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this workshop, let's take a moment to check in with ourselves. Using these two emotions chart, how are you arriving in this moment? You can pause the video here to jot down a few things or just name them in your head. Thank you for taking a moment to check in with yourself. As you transition from your busy day and into this workshop, let's practice grounding together so you can be as present as possible. We'll take a collective breath to reset and ground in the present moment and give yourself permission to transition into this space. If it feels safe to close your eyes, you can do so, or notice an item in front of you and soften your gaze. Take a moment to notice your body. Are your shoulders tense? Hands resting? Is your forehead scrunched? Whichever part of your body that feels tight or bunched up, just slowly lower and release those areas. There's nothing you have to do in this moment but to follow my voice. If thoughts come and go, just notice them without judgment and just watch them float away like clouds floating across the sky. Let's collectively breathe together. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. As you continue to gently breathe, just notice one thing you can smell, one thing you can feel, and one thing you can hear. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes or refocus your gaze and return to the room you are in. Thank you for taking this moment to ground with me. I will briefly introduce myself so you know who I am and how I have arrived here. I'm a decolonial psychotherapist, abolitionist social worker, licensed clinical social worker, and community organizer residing on the unceded land of the Ohlone people, colonially known as Oakland, California. I arrive here as a descendant of colonized, occupied, displaced, and liberated Vietnamese people. My lived experiences of being a queer, non-binary, neurodiverse, disabled person of the global majority, navigating the world and the trauma that comes with that, has led me to the practice of healing. As I learned about intersectional oppression, I began to make sense of myself, the world, and how everything is interconnected. My values for collective liberation, healing, and community have led me here. And on the right side, you can see my areas of practice. For today's agenda, I will go over the background theoretical framework of conflict resolution and de-escalation, self-care and community care tips and practice, call to action, and then we will close out. I will share resources and sources at the end, and weaving in check-in questions here and there. So let's go over accessibility and setting the stage for today's workshop. Throughout the workshop, make sure to tend to your needs. I encourage folks to check in with yourself throughout the workshop and tend to your needs however that looks like. I welcome you to stim, fidget, get up to stretch, nourish your body, and I will be doing the same. At any point, go ahead and pause the video to meet your own needs however that shows up for you. No experts, no hierarchy. This is a collaborative learning space, meaning that although I am the facilitator, I am not the expert in the room. This is an interactive way of learning that involves practice, self-reflection, going inwards, applying your own experiences, and building out many complex perspectives. We are all experts of our own lived experiences, and I want you to bring that in today's workshop. Although some of you may already know about conflict resolution and de-escalation, I invite you to approach this container with the learner's mind. If you notice intense emotions come up during this presentation, go inwards, take note of it, notice it without any judgment, be curious about it. This workshop is meant to call you in, hopefully not in a trigger way, but more so in a way that lights a fire under you, mobilizes you, and propels you to take action and create change within yourself and your community. My hopes for today is that you will walk away with a better understanding of what conflict resolution and de-escalation means. De-escalation and conflict resolution is a pivotal skill that is extremely necessary and useful in our personal life in navigating conflict with our family, friends, community members, and loved ones, as well as with our patients and colleagues. I invite you to collectively move through the steps of internal and external de-escalation and conflict resolution, weaving through the complexities of conflict with patients, colleagues, and people outside of the professional workspace to ensure we do not create unnecessary harm. So let's start from the very beginning. What is conflict resolution? Conflict resolution is the process of addressing harm, disputes, or interpersonal and intrapersonal violence without immediately relying on outsourcing to external forces. Specifically, non-carceral conflict resolution prioritizes autonomy, consent, accountability, uncovering underlying needs, healing, community care, true accountability over punishment, and fostering community connection rather than punishment. We'll use these frameworks as our lens for today's learning. Why is this important? It reduces harm and trauma, preserves relationships and community ties, prevents cycles of violence and continued harmful behaviors, promotes proportional context-sensitive outcomes, reduces reliance on formal legal systems that can be costly, slow, and biased. It advances equity, it builds skills and capacity, and it supports public safety holistically. What is de-escalation? De-escalation refers to the use of communication and environmental adjustment techniques to diffuse conflicts without the threat or use of violent communication or physical force. Rooted in community accountability and transformative justice, its primary goal is to address harm and de-escalate crisis while reducing the risk of increased violence. Why is this important? It prevents harm, protects relationships, improves emotional regulation, supports better decision-making, increases empathy and perspective taking, reduces escalation cycles, prevents long-term harm from conflict, builds resilience and coping capacity, improves communication skills, and it benefits community and workplace environments. Here are a few reflection questions that you can answer to yourself. As I read the reflection questions, I invite you to stretch and move your body to get the juices flowing. What would conflict resolution and de-escalation look like for you, not just emotionally, but culturally and collectively? Historically, how do you and your family and community typically handle conflict and de-escalation? Feel free to pause here to answer these questions at your own pace. Here are the steps to non-carceral, interpersonal, and intrapersonal conflict resolution. These are the core principles that guide this transformative approach. Pause and ensure safety, regulate emotions, set intentions and boundaries, establish a safe process. Listen actively and reflect, identify harms and needs, take accountability, co-create repair, resolution options, develop concrete agreement, provide supports and resources, follow up and repair relationship, reflect and integrate, community learning and prevention. Use these steps flexibly, adapt the sequence and depth to context, power dynamics, safety needs, and whether the harm is interpersonal or intrapersonal. Here are the steps to non-carceral, interpersonal, and intrapersonal de-escalation. These are the core principles that guide this transformative approach. Pause and ensure safety. Regulate your body and mind. Set intentions and boundaries. Use respectful de-escalating communication. Practice active, curious listening. Validate feelings. Reframe towards needs and solutions. Offer or arrange supports. Co-create short-term safety plans and next steps. Follow up and practice reflection. Use these steps flexibly, prioritize safety and consent, and adapt language, pace to cultural and power dynamics. What happens when we don't practice conflict resolution and de-escalation? The impacts on yourself is higher stress, reactivity, and burnout from repeated escalations and unresolved emotional labor, increased risk of injury, moral distress, and compassion fatigue when situations default to coercion or force, fewer emotional regulation and communication skills, making future de-escalation harder. On the work environment, it creates more frequent violence, safety incidents, and reliance on security or police, lower team morale, trust, and collaboration, increased turnover and staffing gaps, greater legal, ethical, and reputational risk from restraint, force incidents, and complaints, higher operational costs and disrupted workflow from crisis responses and incidents reporting. On patient care and relationships, it damages therapeutic relationships. There's less trust, poor disclosure, and lower treatment adherence. Worse clinical outcomes by delayed care, medical errors, and prolonged crisis. Increased patient trauma and criminalization, especially for people with mental health, substance, or social need crisis. It exacerbates inequities as marginalized patients disproportionately experience punitive responses, lost opportunities for repair, recovery, and connection to supportive services. The net effect is that it reduces safety, effectiveness, and equity of healthcare, fewer resources for healing and prevention, and a cycle where poor staff well-being and damaged patient relationships make future conflicts more likely and harder to resolve. My call to action today is to join us in choosing repair over punishment. Continue to learn and practice non-carceral de-escalation and conflict resolution skills. Commit to using compassionate communication, consent, accountability in your relationships. Support community care and self-care that prioritizes collaboration, mediation, crisis alternatives, and step in safely to calm harms while centering the needs of those impacted, including yourself. Take one concrete step today. Start brainstorming on ways to implement what you learned today to build on top of your trauma-informed and non-carceral conflict resolution and de-escalation toolbox. And start a weekly practice with a friend, comrade, partner, or a colleague in preparation for future conflicts. Why is this call to action important? It motivates change. It focuses attention. It builds momentum. It enables accountability. It lowers barriers. It links values to behavior. Before we close out, I want to leave you with this. Conflict resolution and de-escalation is not an option or theory. It's a responsibility. It's about transforming care from a space of coercion and silence into one of reclamation and resonance. When helping professions honor identity, history, and cultural voice, it becomes a tool not just for better health, but for liberation. Thank you. If you have questions or comments after this workshop, after this video, you can reach me through my email or message me on Instagram at Decolonized Social Worker. Thank you all so much.